on the information, the district crime officer, Deputy Superintendent of Police Eric Von D in charge, Detective Inspectors Gabriel Damaji and Martin Afari Kranting and Corporal Lisa Ayamba proceeded to Asegame Market, Lometogo, and with the assistance of Togo Interpol, arrested Njoma. The statement said the suspect was searched at the spot, but nothing incriminating was found on him. He said when he was taken to Togo Interpol headquarters and searched again, old bullet scars were found on his right shoulder. When questioned, Njoma said the scars were from gunshot wounds he sustained in Nigeria in 2014 during a fight. The brief said efforts were being made to search his place of abode before bringing him to Ghana. 3 suspects have already been arrested in connection with the robbery.
The Bank of Ghana has announced an increase in its gold reserves this year. The increment, it says, was made through the Domestic Gold Purchase Program, which was introduced in 2021 to increase the central bank's gold reserves by purchasing domestically produced gold using the local currency. The governor, Dr. Addison, said before the introduction of the program in June 2021, Ghana's gold holdings had remained at 8.77 tons over the years. Dr. Addison indicated that the key objective of the program was to leverage gold holdings to raise cheaper sources of financing to provide short-term foreign equity exchange liquidity. It also meant to increase foreign exchange reserves, diversify the portfolio, and foster confidence in the economy through improved foreign exchange reserves and currency stability to attract more foreign direct investment and increase economic growth. The central bank says it aims to double its gold reserves from 8.77 tons to 17.4 tons in 5 years through the DGPP, which was yielding positive results. It says the increase in the gold reserves of the bank provides additional buffers which would help the economy to withstand future global economic shocks and build resilience and manage the impact of macroeconomic imbalances better. And still on that shiny metal, the 4th Ghana Mining Expo in Takoradi focused on using mining to speed up industrialization. Industry players suggested diversification, value addition, and ensuring significant indigenous participation in the mining sector for economic development.
Ghana is currently the leading gold-producing country in Africa, with its 2022 output exceeding 3.74 million ounces. The Ghana Gold Expo, which is in its 4th year, provides a multi-sectoral platform for the sharing and exchange of ideas on investment opportunities and challenges in the sector, with a view to proffering solutions and strategies towards ensuring accelerated growth for the benefit of all stakeholders. The Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Mr. Samuel Abujinapo, said the policies being implemented in the mining ecosystem is being done without undermining the interest of investors who are natural partners in the sustainable exploitation of the country's mineral resources for the benefit of all. Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, said the gold for oil provided foreign exchange resources to meet petroleum importation and eased price pressures and supported BOG's efforts to reduce high inflation levels. The Western Regional Minister, Mr. Kwabena Ochiridakum, said the Expo, which is an initiative of the Regional Coordinating Council and the Gold Expo Foundation, seeks the collaboration of stakeholders to analyze the state of corporate social responsibility of mining companies and their impact on host communities for generational prosperity.
The National Health Insurance Authority says it is working to expand the list of ailments covered by the NHIS. Last year, the scheme absorbed the treatment of 4 childhood cancers. On a 2-day working visit to the Upper West region, the Chief Executive Officer of the authority, Dr. Bernard Okoboy, says government is working to make the health insurance scheme more effective to relieve Ghanaians of their burdens.
On his visit, the CEO of the NHIA held discussions with key stakeholders in the implementation of the NHIS and learned at first hand the challenges confronting the scheme in the region. In an engagement with the Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz bin Sali Atwa, Dr. Bernard Okoboy said the priority of government now is to ensure prompt payment and expand coverage of diseases under the scheme to promote efficiency of the scheme.
80% of the cases that are seen in children when it comes to cancers have been put on the National Health Insurance Scheme. Hitherto, until that, parents had to look for thousands of Ghana cedis to pay for the treatment for cancers. Beyond that, we've also added hydroxyurea, a very recently developed drug, very effective at reducing crisis occurrence in sickle cell patients and improving the quality of their lives.
The Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz bin Sali commended the CEO for injecting dynamism into the operations of the scheme.
In the era where all areas are craving for independence, I want you to speed up so that the Fiama Buse Issa will be on its own, as well as Lambusi.
Dr. Okoboy also inspected construction works of the NHIS office at Issa in the Dafiama Busie Issa district and assured the completion and handing over of the project before the end of this year.
Back in the national capital, a social dialogue which aimed at designing policies that will address the uniqueness and viability of migrants has been held in Accra. The call is for Ghana as a host nation to migrants to integrate all categories of migrants by identifying their needs to ensure social cohesion.
The social dialogue on migration centered on mainstreamed integration of migrants within broader policies on social inclusion to break down stereotype encounters. They discussed underlining rights and recognition as well as effects of individual survival in the West African sub-region. Individual contributions highlighted discriminations and lack of harmonized immigration procedures and documents, trade barrier, harassment at the various borders despite ECOWAS free movement protocols implementation. A researcher and fellow with Migrant Advocacy Center, Dr. Frank A.C., urged ECOWAS to lobby member states to implement agreement and protocol mechanisms to avoid violation of rights of citizens and migrants. A sociologist and member for Migration Development and Equality Project, Professor Akosua Dakwa, encouraged cooperation regardless of citizen status in ECOWAS member countries. Some migrants encouraged their counterparts to be law-abiding in their host nations and identify partners through networking and affiliating with associations that can properly represent them. West African migrants and leadership of Ghana Union of Traders along the Accra-Tema corridor participated in the discussion.
A Golden Episcopal Ordination Thanksgiving Mass has been organized to honor Emeritus Bishop of the whole Diocese of the Catholic Church, Most Reverend Francis Lodonu. The service was to celebrate the bishop for his exemplary leadership, his unwavering dedication to the church, and his tireless efforts in serving the faithful for the past 50 years as a priest.
Which marked a significant milestone in Bishop Lodonu's dedicated service to the church, brought together the clergy, Knights of the Order of St. John, government dignitaries and members of the church. Also present were Bishop of the whole Diocese, Bishop Emmanuel Fianu, Bishop Walters Jemfi, and Archbishop Charles Palmer Bakal. Born on November 1937 in the town of Bi-Atabu, near Hohoe, Bishop Lodonu's early years were marked by his profound connection to his Catholic upbringing. His education began at Bi-Atabu Roman Catholic School, followed by the Roman Catholic Boys' School at Bibla. After completing his primary education, he continued his studies at the Bishop Herman College in Pando, where he pursued his second cycle education. Bishop Lodonu's vocation to the priesthood led him to St. Peter's Regional Seminary in Cape Coast, where he studied philosophy and theology from 1958 to 1964. It was on May 18, 1964, that he was ordained as a priest by Bishop Anthony Connings, the same bishop who baptized him as an infant in December 1937. Following his ordination, he assumed the role of assistant parish priest at Whole Sacred Heart Church. Bishop Lodonu took on various appointments and responsibilities, from serving as an assistant headmaster and chaplain at St. Paul Secondary School in Viepe Aplau Denu to assuming the roles of vice rector and rector of St. Mary's Minor Seminary in Lolobi. He also held positions as rector and headmaster of St. Mary's Seminary Secondary School, where he dedicated himself to shaping the minds and hearts of young students. On June 29, 1973, Bishop Lodonu received the great honor of being consecrated as a bishop in St. Peter's Basilica, Rome, by Pope John Paul. His consecration marked the beginning of his tenure as auxiliary bishop to the Right Reverend Anthony Connings, the Bishop of Keta Diocese. In August 1976, he assumed the role of diocesan bishop of Keta Ho, which involved leading and shepherding the faithful in the Volta region. He played a vital role in the establishment of St. Cecilia Parish in Ho Dome, the acquisition and management of St. Agatha's Commercial College, and the construction of the diocesan secretariat in Ho. His dedication to fostering dialogue and understanding has been exemplified through his involvement in peace negotiations between the Nkonya and Alavajan communities. Bishop Lodonu expressed gratitude to God for seeing him through life's journey and using him as an instrument to facilitate, foster and champion peace over the decades. He urged Christians to remain steadfast and true to their calling.
The task ahead, though daunting, is doable with God on your side. Assuring words for the 14 newly ordained pastors of the Evangelical Presbyterian Church, Ghana. The new pastors have passed a 2-year probation period and they will head district branches of the church nationwide. The moderator of the church, Right Reverend Dr. Lieutenant Colonel Blaise Agbeko, encouraged them to let their deeds reflect on society by living exemplary lives.
The 14 ordained pastors were commissioned 2 years ago after their calling and competencies were confirmed as pastoral leaders in churches and church-related ministries. The newly ordained pastors will be in charge of the various district branches of the church across the country. The moderator of the Evangelical Presbyterian Church, Ghana, Right Reverend Dr. Lieutenant Colonel Blaise Agbeko, advised the pastors to be diligent in their new roles and to put into good practice their pieces of training. He said there should be a shining light unto others to draw others to the saving knowledge of their calling, adding, pastors must be preachers of righteousness, God-fearing and shun sin. Right Reverend Dr. Lieutenant Colonel Blaise Agbeko indicated that righteous living attracts favor from God, promotes supernatural preservation and divine blessing while attracting daily provision from God. Reverend Oliver Soglo, who spoke on behalf of her colleague new pastors, said it was a humbling and reflective moment for them to discharge their new roles and pledge to undertake it diligently. She said they will be proactive to the spiritual, physical and emotional needs of their members and will be committed to the worship of God, the preaching of the gospel of Jesus Christ and making of disciples.
The Dambai College of Education in the Karachi East municipality of the Oti region has held its congregation with an appeal to all partners and the government to support the transformation of the education sector.
Established in 1974, the Dambai College of Education has over the years undergone transformation as a result of changing educational policies. The college started with 35 students but now has a population of more than 1,200 with 60 teaching staff and 23 non-teaching staff. At the graduation ceremony, the assessment coordinator of the Institute of Education at the University of Cape Coast, Dr. Kwame Bediakwa-Sare, observed that the country's quest for a robust education system can only be achieved when competent teachers are at the forefront of quality education delivery. The principal of the college, Dr. Benedicta Ewusi-Atiku, commended government and all students of the college for supporting the college's development over the years, which she noted has helped to address infrastructural deficit in the school. She, however, mentioned the lack of vehicles for the administration as a major setback.
I am compelled to accolade you. You are a lucky generation. A generation that saw the commencement get this one well. A generation that saw the commencement of implementation of a vibrant new teacher education curriculum. A generation whose reign was battered by COVID-19 worldwide menace, yet managed to achieve success through an academic and professional program.
The Strategy and Innovation Director at the Ministry of Education, Mr. Aaron Chumakwabwa, said it is important for trained teachers to write and pass the licensure examination after graduation to qualify them as professional teachers. 227 students graduated with bachelor's degree. In news from further afield, rescuers working to reach cars trapped in a flooded tunnel near the South Korean city of Cheongju have recovered 9 bodies. Floodwaters caused by days of torrential rain poured so quickly into the underpass that passengers and drivers were trapped in their cars, unable to escape. At least 35 people have died in total after flooding, landslides and power cuts across much of the country. More than 10 people were missing, and it's unclear how many people are still trapped in the 865-meter-long tunnel in the town of Osong, but 15 vehicles are thought to be submerged.
Several of the bodies were recovered from inside the bus. 9 survivors were rescued on Saturday. Most of the other fatalities have been in the mountainous North Gyeongsang region, where landslides have swept away whole houses. Almost 300 millimeters of rain is reported to have fallen across South Korea on Saturday. The country typically sees 1,000 millimeters to 1,800 millimeters a year, according to the Korean Meteorological Association, although much of that thus fall during the summer months. Aerial pictures from flood-affected areas show brown mud and flood water so deep only the tops of roofs can be seen sticking out. Thousands of people have been affected by evacuation orders issued by various local governments, and Korean's Prime Minister Han Duck-soo has asked the military to help with the rescue efforts. Early on Saturday morning, some 6,400 residents were evacuated after the Gyeongsang Dam, also in North Chuncheon, began to overflow, the agency said. A number of low-lying villages near the dam, as well as many of the roads connecting them, were submerged, leaving some residents trapped in their homes.
Parts of the U.S. are expected to see record temperatures with warnings of dangerous heat levels into next week across the Southwest. Nearly a third of Americans, about 113 million people, are currently under heat advisories from Florida to California and up to Washington state. The country's National Weather Service has urged people not to underestimate the risk to life. An all-time high of 118 Fahrenheit was recorded in Phoenix, Arizona. It means temperatures have hit 110 Fahrenheit for 16 days running. Meanwhile, Death Valley in California, one of the hottest places in the world, is forecast to reach 129 Fahrenheit, nearing the hottest temperatures ever reliably recorded on Earth. About 700 people are estimated to die each year from heat-related causes in the U.S., according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Hundreds of homes have been destroyed by a fire in a poor neighborhood in the South African port of Durban. One person is known to have died in the blaze that tore through the Kennedy Road informal settlement early on Sunday morning, but there are fears that more bodies could be found. Video footage shows the twisted remains of corrugated iron sheets used to build the shacks amid the smoldering debris. People can be seen trying to salvage their belongings. The cause of the fire is not yet known. However, some eyewitnesses say it started when 2 people who had been drinking got into an argument. A South African Red Cross spokesman described it as a disaster and estimated that about 1,000 shacks may have been destroyed, leaving some 3,000 people homeless. The Red Cross was cited distributing hot meals, mattresses and blankets to those affected, and an appeal was made to the public for more donations. Japan, South Korea and the United States have held a joint naval missile defense exercise to counter North Korea's nuclear and missile threats days after Pyongyang launched an intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM. The South Korean Navy confirmed that the drill on Sunday was conducted in international waters between South Korea and Japan and brought together destroyers equipped with AG radar systems from the three countries, the South Korean Navy said. A naval officer said the exercise focused on practicing procedures to detect and track a computer-simulated ballistic target and share information related. The North Korea fired its latest Hwasong-18 missile, which Pyongyang describes as the core of its nuclear strike force. The launch followed heated complaints from North Korea in recent days, accusing U.S. spy planes of flying over its exclusive economic zone waters, condemning a recent visit to South Korea by a U.S. nuclear-powered cruise missile submarine, and promising to take steps in reaction. Seoul, Tokyo and Washington denounced the ICBM launch, saying it constituted a clear flagrant violation of multiple United Nations Security Council resolutions and posed a grave threat to peace and stability in the Korean Peninsula and beyond. Joining us with an update of the weather, meteorologist Franklin Cudjoe on the line. Frank, thank you for making the time. We've had some clear skies during the weekend. Should we expect same, Frederick?
Good morning, Thelma. Well, for the next 24 hours, more cloudiness will be seen this early morning through to some portions of the afternoon. However, there are some chances of isolated rain showers along the coast into the forest belt. But then over the northern sector, we have a rainstorm that is currently grazing over the upper portions, that is upper east towards the upper western region. We expect some thundery activities with some windy conditions over those areas, as well as the northern and then savanna regions. Into the afternoon, the sun will come up and then it will alternate with the clouds, especially over southern Ghana. So we expect some partly cloudy conditions for southern Ghana. Temperatures will range from about 22 degrees Celsius to a maximum of 30 degrees Celsius across the entire country. Into tomorrow morning, some fog and then misty weather will be seen over the forest belt, as well as cloudiness with pockets of isolated rain.
So it sounds like the temperatures will be on the high side. There's a sharp shift from what we've experienced the past few days with some more low temperatures, or is it just a daytime and nighttime thing?
Well, these are the minimum and then the maximum for the day. So generally, when you look at the temperatures for the next 24 hours, it will be quite cool. This morning is about 22 degrees Celsius, and then during the afternoon hours, we expect a rise to about 30 degrees Celsius, which is not so hot for us in Ghana here.
Frederick, thank you for making the time. Frederick Cudjoe is a meteorologist with the Ghana Meteorological Agency, giving us some weather updates. Much cool morning, a bit hotter in the afternoon, but still relatively comfortable for our parts of the world. And that's your weather update as you step out about your normal duties. Continue your day with us and take us on that journey. GTV Ghana everywhere. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, in fact, all social media. We are there. We are also on Instagram Threads. So remember that you can find us on the stream. Agenda 1 million by December is still on. Still to come on this breakfast show, we are discussing bedwetting in children, and perhaps Cap will share some experiences with you on that side. He has quite a story to tell, so make sure you don't miss that. And also follow us for our conversations, looking into the newspapers, and then we'll sit down and analyze what's happening with this year's National Service postings, and then bring you some gospel music to wrap it all up. This is Breakfast on GTV. I'm Thelma Taki.